everyone, and welcome to My Big Fat Rom Com podcast. I'm Kelsey Rodich.
And I'm Haley Smith.
And for our first episode, we are going to be discussing When Harry Met Sally.
I'm so excited for this one. It's my favorite rom-com.
It is definitely, up there for me, too.
Yeah.
It's I just feel like it is, the quintessential, classic rom-com.
Yeah.
Obviously there are some that came before.
Yeah.
1,000 that came afterward. But yeah, I just feel like it is. It's one of those.
When I was researching, rom-coms that I forgot about, every list that I found, When Harry Met Sally is the first one.
Yeah.
All the time.
Number one.
Always.
It's a good one. I didn't realize how late it was made. It was made in 1989.
Yeah.
Came out in 89, and I did not.
I knew it was 80s because you could definitely tell from the costumes.
Oh, for sure. Peak 80s fashion. No, but I mean, for some reason I thought it was earlier. I thought it was 85.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that it was almost 90.
Yeah, because when you think about it beforehand, I can't think of any rom-coms really before 1989. I mean, that kind of was almost like the touchstone of romantic comedies, I think. It set the ball rolling for a lot of them. Yeah,
for the modern rom-com, for sure. But I mean, there are some that are
like black and white films.
Yeah. Yes. And Audrey Hepburn, I feel like, right? Yeah. She did a lot that you could kind of, I don't know. And I mean, that's one thing that I plan on talking about at least too, is what constitutes a rom-com. How do we make that, where do we place things in that genre? And because we're going to talk over the course of this podcast about a lot of different rom-coms and some that are definitely rom-com categories, some that are more dramatic, and then some that have 1,000 different genres thrown in there that are just what is happening here? But yeah, so I was researching some parts of this or aspects of the movie that I had no idea. So first off, when the movie plays, the credits take so long.
At the beginning?
Yeah, it's just music in black and black screen with just credits.
I might have fast forward through those parts.
My God. But I wanted to know the credits. Yeah. So I was willing to wait through it. But I didn't know it was written by Nora Ephron.
Yeah, that I know. And Rob Reiner, I think, directed it.
Yeah, so I looked up some stuff, IMDb, thank you. Nora Ephron won a BAFTA for the screenplay.
Okay.
And was nominated for the Oscar.
Okay.
And then it had a ton of Golden Globe nominations.
Yes.
And then my favorite fact, so I was I know the name Rob Reiner. I know it. Mm-hmm. I had no idea what he had done, though. And my favorite credit that I didn't realize is he did This Is Spinal Tap.
Did he?
Yeah, and it's just that makes me so happy. I mean, he did Stand By Me, The Princess Bride. He's got amazing credits, but This Is Spinal Tap. That movie. I fucking love that movie. That made me happy. Anyway, but yeah, I think, I don't know. That's literally one of the notes that I have. Longest credits ever.
Yeah, I think I fast forward through it. I was nope.
But then I love how they open with, and sporadically throughout, they have those couple interviews.
I like those too.
And they're just so...
And they're all very different.
Yeah.
The beginning one I think was the sweetest, if I can remember, with the one where it was... I can't remember if they were Russian or they had an accent, and
I think they were all New Yorkers.
No, but he was they had met, and then he left her or something for another woman, and she's I don't even remember her name, and she's something she said her name Sally right off the bat or something.
Oh, and that's the woman that. No. That's later on.
I'm just talking about the interviews. That one's my favorite, though.
Oh, yeah. No, I love the one. There's one where, they just keep talking over each other. And it's, yes, marriage. Love it. It's when they're I lived in the Bronx on...
Yeah, the steps, and there were different floors or something.
Yeah, and then it's I lived on, 62nd Street, and I lived on 109th. And it's they just list all these things, I was a doctor on the 4th floor. I was a nurse on the 2nd. It's so, and we never met. Just so precious. Anyway, but I love I don't know. I like the timeline.
Yeah.
Of this movie in particular. Like, I mean, because it opens in 1977.
Yeah. When they're
University of Chicago.
Yeah.
Right. And then literally my first note is I wrote down, no one wants to see a couple make out. And her cough and honk are everything. Like, I hate this. Like, that's one thing that I can't stand about this movie is how they film, like, the kissing scenes.
Okay.
It's so, I'm like,
they're very up close.
Too close.
Yeah.
Too close and personal. I don't need to see this. Like, I don't want to watch people mouth smush. Like,
no.
But that is like 100% me. Like if anyone, because I hate PDA.
Same.
And so if I was like waiting on someone, I would have honked and I would just lay on the horn and I wouldn't have stopped. I wouldn't have been like, oh, sorry. I would have been like, let's go.
That tells you everything you need to know about Sally in those first 5 minutes for the whole movie.
Yeah. Well, oh my gosh. And that and like, because that's one thing that I did really enjoy is their character development.
Yeah.
I think overall, like one thing that what I love about this rom-com is that it feels really real.
Yeah. It does.
Yeah. And so I just, like, they're very real people to me, like with their flaws and like
their quirks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the whole diner, that diner, like in the beginning, like,
and one of my notes was because we're here in the UK, I'm like, I miss American highway diners like, so much. That was my first comment. I would kill for like a greasy like BLT from like a sketchy sideway diner off like I-95. Like,
oh
please.
My goodness. Yeah. Like those like don't exist.
Oh, they exist all along. Especially, like, if you travel to, like, up the East Coast.
Yeah.
Highway diners all the way. Well, plus he's from Chicago, so it's the North. So
yeah.
Highway diners.
West Coast doesn't have that. It's all fucking fast food.
You're missing out because it's great.
Clearly. But yeah, like, I love it. I wrote down, because I remember them changing a lot over the course, like, personality-wise. Like, they're, like, that you really get to see their characters mature.
Yeah. And especially Harry.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, because he's such a negative... I wrote down he's such a negative Nancy. Like, he's, like, such a pessimist.
I love it, though.
No, I love it, too, but it's, like, it is.
He is.
Yeah.
I still think he is a little bit at the end, too, but at the beginning he's way worse.
I mean, he's not, like, a hopeless romantic, but I think he kind of turns into one a little bit. Like, anyway... I don't know. We wrote our notes chronologically here, so we're kind of, I guess we're going to kind of go in.
Chronologically.
Speaking, yeah, but like, I don't know. But like one of the first, I mean, obviously like, we kind of texted, but for the most part, I wouldn't let Haley share her notes with me until we recorded because I didn't want to ruin the discussion. But what do you think about like the Casablanca like great sex chat in that early diner?
My first thing on that I wrote, my first note was couples who can argue over classic films is like my peak couple goals because I've never met anybody who's seen like a movie before, like let's say 1960. So like the fact that they were arguing Casablanca, I'm like, yes, but Casablanca is not my favorite classic film, and I've only seen it once, so it's not my favorite. But
I have never seen it.
Oh, it's okay.
I've seen the clips that are in When Harry Met Sally.
I mean. The conversation, I guess, he wasn't really making it like he was poking fun at her. I think that's why their dynamic works so well. Yeah, because Meg Ryan is kind of uptight at the beginning, or at least Sally is. Yeah, but she evens out a bit, like towards and I think he was just mostly trying to get her a rise out of her at the beginning of it.
Probably.
He was, and then because he's like so one tone, nothing riles him until it really riles him, and then he goes off. Yeah. Like the scene with the wagon wheel table.
Oh my god, yeah. We'll get there.
But What was the question? I was thinking about classic movies.
I was just saying, like, what did you think about, like, the great sex chat? Because I know that's one of the things you texted me was, like, about Sheldon.
Sheldon.
Ride me, big Sheldon.
I think, see, when I go back and watch it, like, the second time, I think that Sally made the whole story up just to, like, because I feel like it's kind of in that awkward position where you know the guy was with your friend and he clearly has more experience than you, so you're still in college. So I feel like she was just saying it just to try to be on an even playing field with him almost.
Probably.
Because he was had one step above her.
Yeah.
Almost.
But I also feel like it could have been true, but I think he's right that she's never had great sex before. Yeah. Like 100%. But like, you know, to her, maybe like, that was great sex, you know? So, like, we don't, like, we don't really know, but I do agree that, like, I think he was pushing her buttons and she was getting defensive.
And I feel like when there's nothing more infuriating than when someone tells you something you believe isn't true. So that when he's like, you're wrong, she's in her personality's like, no, I'm right.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like...
And let me tell you how.
Exactly. That's what I think it was.
Yeah. Well, and I think, like, so the next thing, I think a good example of that is her just being her and, like, her innocence, too. Yeah. At the beginning is, like, the days of the week underpants line and, like, why they don't make Sunday.
Because it's God's day.
Yeah. And it's, like, because, well, her reason is, like, because of God. And it's, like... What? And he's just staring at her like, what? And then it, like, cuts to the next scene. So, like, I think, it just kind of shows. Also, I don't know. For some reason that, like, always, like, days of the week underwear, like, always, like, reminds me of, like, kids, like, little kids.
Yeah, so they know what day it is to wear.
And they know, like, to change their underwear on a daily basis. Like... basic hygiene, you know? And so, like, I think that too, like, to me, and I don't know if that was the case in 77 or 89 that they're making the movie in, but it kind of made her seem just, again, like, more innocent. Like, I think that whole scene is just to kind of show her more, like, inexperienced. Not innocent, but inexperienced.
Yeah, and also because she's going from, I mean, Chicago's big, but going from, like, even just Chicago to, like, New York where they went, it's a big change for her. So it's kind of showing, like, her naiveness towards New York. And then I think when they show her later on, especially past, like, when she sees him at the airport, and then even after, she gets more, like, New Yorker jaded almost. Like, she's more cynical, and she's like... I don't really believe in love that much. She's like, it's fine. So, I mean, like, that kind of thing, I think it shows. Yeah, definitely. She's more wide-eyed. That you are, I think, also when you leave university, you're like, the world is so big, and then it like, knocks you down a bit when you're done. Yeah, and I think definitely, like, going to New York has gotta do that. Yeah. Which leads me to the first question I have written down is... basically, like, Harry's philosophies. He's got them all throughout the movie. I know, and I love it. Same. And I think they're such good talking points. So the first one is, can men and women be friends without sex getting in the way? This has been, like, the one question I've always pondered in life. My first gut reaction is no. That's because so interesting. I'm the opposite. Really? Yeah. I say no because... from personal experience, every guy that I've ever been friends with, I've always been attracted to at some point or another, whether it be like, oh, he's kind of cute, or like crush. Like, even growing up, it was like that too. Okay, so I mean, I get that, but at the same time, his argument is that it's because the sex gets in the way. Yeah. Like, when you realize that you can't have sex with the person... then that's when the friendship is ruined. And it's, to me, that's not the case at all. Sure, I might have been, okay, well, so, like, for me, like, yeah, like, I might have had a crush on them at some point, but to me, like, crushes are very surface level, and it's not until I actually get to know the person that I really can tell if I am, like, sexually attracted to them. Yeah. And so, for me, I think... like, that aspect of, like, sex would never really get in the way because I don't, like, at the end of the day, like,
if that's not going to happen, it's not going to happen. It's not going to ruin our friendship. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can see it that way. I mean, it depends too. Like, if he's single and I'm single, then I think it's a little bit easier. But it's when one of us gets into a serious relationship. Because I remember one of my friends was, when I was younger, we were really good friends, and he was dating somebody else. And I remember, like, we would hang out, and then his girlfriend would get really jealous that we would hang out. Like, I would go over to his house at, like, 10 o'clock at night, and, like, she'd be like, what are you guys doing? I'm like, we're literally just playing pool. Like, it's fine.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think it goes both ways. Like, I think you can't be friends because of sometimes the attraction, and also because the girlfriend/boyfriend could get a little bit jealous of it.
Yeah. Which I think leads into his amendment of this when we see them
in
again.
The plane.
In the, I don't know if they, I think they talk about it in the airport.
Yeah.
After landing is like, hold on, let me look at my notes. Yeah, so it's like a man and a a man and a woman can be friends if they're both in a committed relationship. Yeah. But then, he then says, like, he blames the other person for the jealousy.
Yeah, that I could see.
So, for me... Here's my thing, is I could not be in a relationship with someone who was that jealous of an honest friendship. It, like, we've talked about, like, the whole Ross and Rachel friends thing, and, like, that would drive me insane. Like, to me, trust is everything, and if I'm going to commit myself to you, like, that's me trusting you 100%, and I expect the same trust
in return.
Yeah. And so... if I tell you that I don't have feelings for this person, I'm gonna hope that you trust me that I don't have feelings for this person.
It depends on your level of jealousy. Because I can be a very jealous person just in general. So, like, even if I know 100% that you guys are not, like, sleeping together and there's no attraction, but, like, you guys have those, like, little in-jokes and I'm not in on it and I'm just sitting there, like, I can just feel, like, even sitting here, like, the jealousy in my, like, pit is steaming and I'm like, why do you have jokes? And, like, I'll be like that person at the end who's like, so what does that mean? Like, that's me. So I think the jealousy gets in the way, for me at least. I'm fine with them being friends, and even if they were kind of attracted to each other at one point, but it's just my own jealousy getting projected onto the guy.
Yeah, I guess I just don't think I
get jealous.
Well, I think everybody gets jealous to a certain extent. You know what I mean? I think it's just part of human nature. But I don't see myself ever getting so jealous that it would bother me that much.
It would depend on the level of friendship. Like, I think where it would bother me is, say I was dating a guy for a year and then he was friends with a girl for like 25 years. So, like, they'd known each other since birth. And it's like they have more of a shared history than I do with him. So that's where...
That would make you jealous?
Yeah. That's my... the 7 deadly sins, mine is jealousy. Like, I even just get jealous looking at people, like, on the street walking home from, like, class. I'm like, wow, that looks like good food. I want to eat that. Like, it's bad.
I guess I just am not a jealous person then. Because, like, to me, like... I think it would be the opposite for me. I think I would be more potentially jealous, worried about a relationship that has happened, like, with less time. So to me, 25 years of friendship, they're already past that potential attraction stage. And no one pines for that long. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, and if they do, like, it was never going to happen between us anyways. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so to me, it's more of like when all of a sudden there's like a new person at work or something like that, that I would be like, oh, like they're new in your life, like
exciting kind of thing.
Yeah. Because I think like at that point, your relationship, I mean, obviously it depends on how long you've been together, but like, there's a chance that I think, you know, if we've been dating a year, that's not very long in the grand scheme of things. Yeah. So there's no like long-term commitment potentially going. And so I think you feel like you're a little bit more in danger. Yeah. And then if you're like married and have been married for a few years, like whatever, you then have that commitment of marriage that kind of solidifies you. And I feel like it's such a bigger step to cheat on a wife.
I'm the opposite.
I don't know. I just don't think...
I mean, I think of it this way. Like, I'm not going to use the real example. I'll just say, okay, so say my friends I had a friend who was dating this guy for a really long time. She had guy friends on the side. They were all really close. And then as soon as she broke up with her long-term boyfriend, all of her guy friends that she was friends with was like, hey. So, like, that kind of thing that's what triggers mine. Like, they were all really good friends, but then they started hitting on her. So, clearly the sex was on the mind while she was dating that guy.
Yeah, but then you just said that they respected the relationship she was in, so they didn't go after her until she was single.
Then it got awkward because she wasn't attracted to any of her friends, so then it got awkward that all of her guy friends that she was so close with, that she thought she was building a foundation of a friendship, they were just trying to build it to get comfortable until they split. So, you know what I mean? Like, that's where it would get iffy for me. I'm not like that personally, because I know I'm someone who really respects the sanctity of relationships. So if I'm even attracted to them a little bit as a friend, I will remove myself from that situation, but I know sometimes people don't.
So you would just, like, stop being friends with someone that
it would depend on our level of friendship. Like, I've never had consistent guy friends without me dating them like that, because I'm someone who builds the relationship on friendship first. So I'm like, we're gonna be friends, and then all of a sudden one day I'm like, wow, I really like you, we're gonna go out now. That's how I do it. I don't know, I've never had I've had guy friends, but never like we go out and hang out unless we were like, either I was pursuing them or they were pursuing me. That's why I don't agree. I agree
I guess friends. I guess that's the same with me. Should we get back to talking about this?
I asked the second question. That's what it was.
No.
So, short answer for me, no, guys and girls cannot be friends because the sex part gets in the way.
I guess, short answer for me, it depends.
Yeah.
I think it's possible, though. I think it's possible. Anyway.
I mean, the only exception to that rule is if the guy / girl is gay. It's the exception to the rule to me.
Well, yeah, because there's no sexual attraction.
Yeah. That's the exception to my rule.
Okay, I kind of love it. So after this point, they say goodbye to each other when they arrive in New York.
Yeah. No. Oh, in the car. Okay.
Yeah.
At the airport yet. Okay.
No.
Okay.
Even though we kind of jumped ahead, but whatever. We'll see.
Backtrack.
Because there are some lines that I freaking love from that airplane scene.
My note from that was her outfit on the airplane is like something I would wear today. That outfit when she's in the airport, in the airplane, going down the belt. It's like my favorite outfit she wears in the movie.
I don't remember it.
She had it's almost like a stewardess outfit, and it was like a tiny little peak 80s what are those little bows
ruffle blouse,
and I think it was like a skirt suit or whatever, and I remember I just loved it.
The outfit that I love the most is when they're walking in the park during
she's
fall.
In the pants with the hat.
Yes,
yeah, that's a good one. That's a poster one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we see them. They're 5 years later, and I love it that it's another freaking makeout scene.
Oh, at the airport.
So every time, and so it's her and this guy,
Joe.
Joe, yeah. And then freaking Billy Crystal, staring, and I'm just why? It's so cringy to me.
When he's at the airport or when he's on the plane?
No,
because the plane one is my favorite too.
No, I love
leaning over.
Yeah, no, I love that. No, I'm talking about these makeout scenes in this film. Make me cringe so hard because there's so Meg Ryan or whatever Sally and Joe are making out in the airport.
Yeah,
she's waiting to board the plane, and Billy Crystal or Harry comes up and walks by them, realizes that he knows the guy.
Yeah.
comes back and sits there and stares at them until they break apart, and like they're like, what the heck? And he's like, Joe, I thought it was you, you know?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, like, Sally's like, thank God he didn't notice me, kind of a thing. And I love it how this is my favorite part, and this is like my favorite part, or like, I think the growth of Sally, like, we start to see the growth of Sally is when she says, like, oh, like, I can't, for the life of me, I cannot forget my friend, I cannot remember my friend's name. And then she finally, like, remembers it. She's like, oh, yeah, okay, that was her name. And then on the plane, Harry recognizes her. He's like, University of Chicago, right? She's like, yes. And then he, like, can't place her. And then she goes, like, you dated my friend. And he's like, oh, yeah, so-and-so. And she's like, no, this, like, I can't believe you don't remember her name. And I was like, hypocrite.
That's why I love her, though.
No, I know. That's what I mean.
I think also because she remembers him, and she remembered also going back to the sex talk at the diner, because Harry had that upper hand on her. So on like the sex talk. So now she kind of has the upper hand, and she likes that push and pull with him.
Yeah.
That's what I think it was. So she's like, well, haha, you made fun of my Sheldon, but I'm over here making fun because you didn't remember that girl. So I think that's the dynamic too.
Yeah. Well, and then I love it but then I think he kind of one-ups her by telling her that he's getting married. And then
she can't believe it.
Yeah, she's like, who is she? Like, what crazy woman would get married to you? Like,
Helen.
Oh my God. And then, so the other thing is one of Harry's other philosophies that comes up several times in the movie is like, how long does he have to hold a woman after sex before he can leave?
Yes.
And I'm just like, oh my God. Like, I cannot believe that is something like that is calculating like in that way. Like, you know what I mean? Like, who is sitting there thinking, just counting seconds, like,
men,
tick, tick, like,
men.
Now I can leave you. Like,
it's men.
Oh my God. I don't know. Yeah, to me, it's like 30 seconds. He says like 30 seconds. Like, it's like, that's like his like minimum.
Go to.
Yeah, he's just like, is 30 seconds enough? Or do I have to sit here and wait like a minute? And it's like, dude. Oh man, I don't know. Maybe that shows how like needy I am.
No, it shows me too. When he says to Sally, I think you're an all-night girl. Like, that's me too. Like, that's me. All night until I fall asleep, and then you can roll me to the side.
The hug and roll.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, like, I think for me, like, I do enjoy cuddling, but like, I can't sleep like that.
No, that's why I said tuck and roll. I'm cool with, like, laying on my side and then you put your arm over me, and then once you turn over, you can take it back. But, like, as soon as if I fall asleep first, like, I can't date someone who falls asleep, like, within 5 seconds, because I take a while, and then once I feel your arm leave, then I'll fall asleep. That makes sense.
Interesting.
But, like, to physically, like, embrace, I'm just, like, can't breathe. Like, one arm, put your arm on my back, I'm fine.
Yeah.
But, like, just completely go to separate sides of the bed, I can't do that.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I think there's, like, a happy middle ground.
Yeah.
Like, it's not very long before, generally speaking, I would want to go to sleep. But, like, I don't...
30 seconds.
30 seconds is so fast. Like, that is... Like, that's, like, no time at all. I don't understand. Like, what? And like, it just kills me the fact that he's, like, counting. Like, he's just, like, counting. He's like, okay, 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. Just pure, like, hell, I guess. I don't know. Seems like it.
And my favorite's when they're on the belt after they leave, and he's just like, I'm gonna stop walking with you now. And he's just like, okay. And then it just, like, fades. Like, you know, that's, like, my favorite cuts of the movie. His thing is just like, okay. And then it just goes.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
And the other dynamic that I love is he almost, like, from the very beginning of the relationship, even in the car ride from Chicago, he gets her almost fairly quickly because she wants to tell him things, but she's like, no, I can't tell you. And then he's just like, okay. And then she's like, well, let me tell you. You know what I mean? So he almost kind of gets them. That's one of my notes that I wrote. Like, the dream thing that they were talking about in the park. And she's like, no, I can't tell you. And he just goes, okay, don't tell me. And then she's like, I'm going to tell you now. So it's like, that's very me. So, like, if you don't give me what I want, then I'm going to just tell you anyways. So that was one of my notes. Like, he kind of gets her from the very beginning. Okay. They did it in the car, I think, and then they did it on the belt after the airport because she was saying something I can't remember, but he just goes,
well, that's when they're having that amended friendship conversation that we jumped the gun on. But like, yeah.
So it's almost like he kind of understands her from the beginning, even if he doesn't even realize it or she doesn't realize it. Because they're very different when you listen to them, but they're almost kind of the same. Like, she's neurotic in her own way. Like you said, she's high maintenance but thinks she's low maintenance.
Oh my god, that line. I love that line so much. Like, you're the worst kind of all.
And then he's kind of like that too. Like, he thinks he's very calm, cool, and collected, but when him and Helen split, he talked about it for a good, 25 minutes in the movie. He constantly talked about it. So he almost has that neurotic tendency that she does to obsess over things.
Yeah.
So in a way, they kind of complement each other. He's just more pessimistic and she's more optimistic.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so then after that airport scene, it then cuts to another 5 years later. So at this point, it's been 10 years since...
they met.
University of Chicago.
Yeah. They were at the bookstore, right?
No. They're at lunch.
Oh, with Carrie Fisher and the other girl.
Yes.
I don't know.
I don't know that actress.
Carrie Fisher in that movie.
Carrie Fisher is amazing. I love her so much. And I love it. So Sally says that her and Joe have broken up.
Yeah.
And she's fine with it.
Yeah.
And Carrie Fisher then says, my favorite thing ever is, you had a date on national holidays. It's all, to her, relationships are, out of convenience. It's you don't need to worry about, bringing someone around for Thanksgiving because you had someone. You had that relationship. And it's oh my God, it's not why people stay in relationships.
But she's also dating the married guy. Yeah. So she wants those because his wife gets the national holidays, so she probably wants those holidays from him.
Very true.
My favorite is he's never going to leave her. No, he's not. She's like, I know, you're right. I know you're right.
I know you're right. I know you're right. And it's oh my God. I would have if that was my friend, I would have slapped her
Same.
Silly. Are you kidding? And I love it. Because I think the first time I watched it, I don't remember Sally being that against it, but now seeing it again, she is. She never is condoning this behavior whatsoever. But
it's your friend, so you want to be good to your friend at the same time.
But at the same time, she's just what are you, just no. What are you doing? One other note that I wrote is, it says when Sally, so at the same conversation, they're talking about you need to get married so that you can have kids or whatever. Yeah. And she says the clock doesn't really start to tick until you're 36. And I was solid.
That's a mood.
Yes. I was my new words to live by. Oh my God. And Carrie Fisher then is talking about setting her up, and she gets out her whatever
Rolodex, I think that's what it is.
And is flipping through, and she's oh, I have the perfect guy, I don't find him attractive, but you might, she doesn't have a thing for chins, or just what does that even mean?
And she's no, we already set him up, and he's oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And it's oh, yeah. And then, so that's kind of where we see Sally, and then it cuts to Harry, and what's his friend's name?
Mustache. That's what I call him.
Mustache. Yeah, what's his name?
I don't think I wrote it down either. Mustache guy.
In my 4 pages of notes.
Oh, they were at the ball game. They were doing the ball game with the wave, yeah. And he was dropping the bomb. Which is
which, to me, this was watching it again, and I think that this is what's crazy, is, it makes sense that his reaction is so, why this messed up Harry so badly. It's not just because, obviously a divorce, that's hard to go through. Yeah. But it's the line where he says, after 5 years of marriage, she didn't know if she ever loved me at all. And I'm how do you stay with someone for 5 years that you don't know if you're in love with them?
Yeah, I mean, people just do.
And I'm trying to think, okay, so if they they were 26 when they got married?
I think some people just get married to say that they were married, just because you're 26, you're starting to approach 30, like you're getting like scared. And I think that people just get married just to say like, I was married, we're married. And it's like that security of it almost. Kind of like Kim Kardashian got married in 72 days because she wanted like the wedding and without thinking of like the context of it, if that makes sense.
That is just so stupid to me. Like,
I could see that happening, like, not for me, but I could see how it could happen. I mean, maybe they were attracted at the beginning and they just built on that, and then the attraction was taken away because it eventually will wear off, the novelty of it. So I think that all of a sudden she was just like, well, I'm in this relationship and, I'm not happy. And I think that happens more often than you think it does.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at the marriages who are just built on, like, companionship and they don't even have sex. So, I mean, it happens.
Yeah. But, I mean, clearly she's looking for love and that's why she wants to get divorced.
And yeah, she had that other guy.
Why? Like, that's what doesn't make sense to me is why would you just...
I think she was just saying that to him to, like, cushion the blow of cheating, too. Like, leaving for that other guy, right? Wasn't that introduced... her accountant or whatever?
Yeah, but that's because she never told him.
The movers came.
Well, yeah, the movers came, but no, he went back. He followed her home.
Oh, that's right.
Or followed her to her
peak creep behavior, though.
I mean, yeah, I guess. Anyway, yeah, I think I'm just such a trusting.
You're so nice.
There's a difference between nice and trusting. But to me, it's just like, I guess I just wouldn't invest that much time in someone that I honestly didn't trust. Like, I value it too much that if I am doubting you, there's something in my gut that's telling me that I should be. Yeah. And that is a problem. So
yeah, I also like to be the person who likes it confirmed. Like, if I think I'm going crazy and I'm thinking, is this just in my head or is it, like, really true? That's why I have to find out. Like, I'll be like, okay, good. I wasn't just a psychopath. Like, this really was going on. Like, that's kind of me, too.
Yeah, and I guess, like, even if that were the case, like, I would honestly hope that if my significant other was cheating on me, that they would tell me. Anyway, but I think, like, so after Harry is describing this divorce to his friend then says something that I just love this line. And it's, marriages don't end due to infidelity. It's just a symptom that something else was wrong.
Yes.
And I'm just like, yes, like that is 100%.
It depends, too, like, because my parents' marriage and infidelity, but it also, like, midlife crisis thing. So it's a symptom either in the person or in the marriage, I think.
I just think, like there is something going wrong in that relationship, whether it's somebody else's issues or issues within the marriage itself that are causing the desire for infidelity. Yeah. It's not, like, and so to me, it's like, it's not... It's a symptom. Yeah. Infidelity is a symptom of a poor marriage. Yeah. It's not the end-all, be-all, I guess.
Which for me it would be. Infidelity is, like, at the top tier of my, we are going to break up.
See, I think, like, it's so hard for me. I think it all depends.
No, I don't think I ever could. Again, ties into my jealousy thing.
Yeah, I guess. So for me, I think it depends on how long have we been married and are there kids involved. Because if there are kids involved, I am much more likely to be forgiving. And to me, right away, like, I love therapy so much, I would just be like, you and I, we're going to figure out what the heck went wrong. Because to me, again, it's, if you are just wanting to sleep with other people, I can't fix that. There's nothing I can do. Yeah. So in that case, we're done. Yeah. Now, if something is going on in your life that you feel like you can't tell me for whatever reason, you're insecure or something, like, whatever that may be, I want to talk that through. Because to me, that is the potential of a relationship being able to continue on. And I'm willing to do that.
I just don't think I could ever get...
it would take me a long time to trust them, to give that trust again. Yeah. But to me... it would be worth it if they are truly apologetic and like know that what they did was wrong and like want to work on it.
And it would also, like, for me too, it would depend on if he came clean about it or if I found out about it, like if he was still hiding it. But if he were to come up to me and was like, I slept with this one person this one time, it was a slip up, like if he was the man enough to come to me and say that, then that might be like, it would all depend, but I really don't think I could get past that.
And the other thing too, like for me, so again, I think if it were just the two of us, I'd be more inclined to just call it quits and like, you know, but if there were kids involved, that's when I would try to make it work for the sake of the kids. But if we honestly couldn't, then it is my like full philosophy that like I would never talk about it with my kids. If that was the case, my kids would never know. Yeah. Because I would not want to set that example for my children that he could do that. To me, like, yeah. And you could be a bad spouse, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're a bad parent. And I wouldn't want it to affect the relationship between dad and children.
Yeah, I don't know if I could be a big enough person. I mean, I probably would, but it would take me quite a while for me to... I'm talking years before I could trust them. But to me,
like, that's just not... before you could trust them, or...
before I could even... like, I'm somebody, like, I always joke because my sister and I, like, if something bad happens, my sister's first reaction is to get, like, explode. Oh, yeah. And I'm, like, the type of person who's, like... I take the information and I process it for a week and then I will react to it. So that way I can get control of my emotions. Because I'm someone who's very even-keeled with things. Like, you can tell me, like, your dog died. And I just sit there and I look at you like, okay. And then they're like, and then I'll come back like 2 weeks later and I'm sobbing. And I'm like, okay, I've processed it. Now I'm okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
I've never been cheated on, so I don't exactly know how I'd react, but
I've never been cheated on to my knowledge.
Exactly.
I would like to think I've never been cheated on. But yeah, to me, it's like but that's the thing is, to me, like marriage is a big commitment.
Same.
I don't take it lightly. It is my true, honest to God hope that I will only be married once.
Same.
And so...
I'm okay with twice, but that is my limit. If I have to get married a third time, I'm done.
No, I think for me, like, I think it's, like, it is such a big commitment to me that I don't take it lightly, and that I would truly be dedicating my entire life to this person.
Same.
And... I would be trusting that through thick and thin, we could figure out whatever the hell comes our way together.
Yeah.
And so I think that, which is why, like, to me, infidelity is a sign that something else is wrong.
Yeah.
So I'm willing to hear the other person out.
Yeah, I would be too, because I would want to know, like, why almost.
Yeah.
But, like, if someone were to come up to me and was like, I cheated on you, I'm not happy anymore, I'm leaving, then it's like, there's really nothing you can do about that.
Oh, yeah. No.
Bye.
Yeah, and so I think, like, I don't know, that line just...
stuck.
Yeah. And because I think it does. I think this is where we start to see hopeless romantic Harry come through. Because I think he is. Like, I think
he protects it with that pessimistic attitude.
Exactly. Like, that's his defense mechanism.
Yeah.
But in reality, like, he really does feel deeply.
Yeah.
And I think his marriage, like, his divorce, I should say, really affected him. Yeah. Which is perfect for when that's why Sally came back into his life, because she could be like this stability thing for him.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is like my favorite time of them, when they do like they're like shopping together and they're doing Christmas trees together. Like, that's my favorite montage of them in the whole film.
Yeah.
I always like that in the Christmas time.
Me too.
Because they were like friends, and I feel like I saw this BuzzFeed video a long time ago where they analyzed some of the romantic comedies and which marriage therapist thought would make it.
Yeah.
And she said when Harry Met Sally was the one they thought, because they had built this like friendship and they knew each other's quirks and how to work around it.
And we're accepting of it. Like, because him, like, you can tell that the way that she orders food drives him crazy.
But he never makes fun of her for it.
He does, well.
He pokes at her, but he never degrades her.
Just be like, because, like, of course, it tastes better on the side. Like, I mean, like, at the very end when they're talking about the chocolate sauce and the coconut cake. Yeah. Because it does. It tastes better on the side. Like, come on.
Because that's one of the things, like, in my relationships, I'm all for like being sarcastic and poking fun of each other, but when it becomes degrading, that's when it's the problem. And I think there's like a fine line. Like for me, I am very picky about my food, which everybody here who's friends with me knows that I'm a very picky eater.
Don't we?
But it's like if he were to say,
but also you have food allergies.
Yeah, like, I'm a struggle bus.
Like, yes, you're picky about some things, like you don't like whatever, but like
some of them could actually kill me.
Yes, but which is a legitimate concern to have when ordering food or choosing a restaurant. I'm trying
to think of like, okay, so it was like they were at dinner, the four of them, when they were trying to set each other up, and then the other two fell in love, Carrie Fisher and the mustache guy.
Yeah.
And then I remember he said Sally knows how to pick the best thing on the menu, so like. He notices her quirks and he like will make fun of her and poke at her like, oh, it's better on the side. But like he never says, well, that's weird. You know, he like never degrades her about it. And I always like that about the relationship.
Yeah. Well, and I also love like, so there's one scene where she's ordering, because she does it several times throughout the movie. And he just like looks at the waiter and he's just like, what are you going to do? Like,
oh yeah, they were having lunch or whatever and something. And the waiter's like,
he's like, what is, I don't remember the exact scene, but I do remember Harry, like, looking and just being like,
sorry.
It is what it is. Like, this is how she works.
Because there's something that my mom told me, because she said that pay attention to the way that men talk about you to other people.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, there's if you were to have a guy and like, yeah, she orders funny, but it's always the best thing that she orders, you know? Or it's really annoying when she does that. So, I mean, you have to listen to the way he words it. I'm cool with you poking fun because I'm going to poke fun at you about it.
Oh, 100%.
But I will never make you feel bad about it, if that makes sense.
Well...
You do sometimes.
My personal humor can be a little cutting, okay?
I know.
What can I say? I'm harsh and mean, but funny. I like to think so, at least. But that's, and so one note I have is, like, in that montage of them, like, becoming friends, whatever, he is watching her put letters in the mailbox one at a time. She has to check the stamp, make sure it's put in, opens the mailbox, closes it, make sure that it's gone through, next envelope, and it's like eventually he's just like walking around like, what is taking, and he just grabs the whole thing, shoves it in, and is like, we're done. And I'm like, that is me.
And I'm the one putting the letters.
Do not get me wrong, I have OCD. Like, I straight up am diagnosed with OCD. I've had it for a long time. Like, I'm very particular about it. Like, my tics are weird. I know they're weird. Yeah. But, like, I don't know. I would love it if my spouse could make fun of said tics. Like, you know what I mean? Like, because it makes me feel like it's not that weird anymore. Okay. You know what I mean? And so, like,
it would depend on my tics. Well, it would depend.
Yeah, I guess. But, like, so I love it. I just love it that he, like, embraces her weird thing, quirks like that. And then, like, it shows that it's real when he, like, finally, like, kind of snaps and is like, give me these letters. You're done.
But he does it in a way that's not mean to her. Like, he's just like, okay, let's go. You know what I mean? He, like, rushes her. And she doesn't feel bad about it. She's just like, okay.
Yeah. Except me, like, I would, if it was an OCD tic, I would literally have to, like, just check again.
Yeah. I think she does.
Yeah. She probably does. I don't know.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I like about their relationship the most, is that they both have their tics. Like, I know that Harry, when he's depressive, like, the peak scene is like, what are you going to do tonight? I'm just going to lay here and moan.
Oh, I'll stay up and moan. I literally have it in quotes right here.
And I'm like, and then she's just like, what will you do? And she's just like, okay, you know what I mean? Like, she never makes him feel bad about his depression. She's just like, and what will you do tonight? He's like, lay and moan. And she's like, Harry.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's also you're the worst kind. You're high maintenance, but you think you're low maintenance.
Yeah.
And the amount of times my father has said that to me.
I was trying to figure out which one I think I am. I think I'm low maintenance, but I know you're going to disagree with me.
For those on the podcast that can't see my face, I just gave Haley the meanest look.
I might be the
side eye.
I might be the high maintenance but thinks they're low maintenance.
I think so too. I
think of like maintenance like makeup and clothes and like things like that. Like I'm not like a very superficial person where I need a lot of stuff, but I do have like a lot of tics and things like that where I'm like,
well, but also again, you're like picking a restaurant with you.
Yeah.
And I think that's for me, like I'm very go with the flow. Like I'm a very chill person. I'm same. Like but I will always be late. Like for the life of it, to save my life, I could not be on time. And like the other thing is when you pick, and this is what drives my like the closest people to me that shit crazy, is do not ask me where I want to eat. Never. Like if you want to keep your sanity, pick the restaurant for me. I will find something to eat on the menu. There, like I don't have any dietary. Well, I have some dietary restrictions, but like for the most part, like I can find something to eat. The second you ask me where I want to eat, I will never know because I am craving something, but I cannot tell what I'm craving. So I know every place that I don't want to eat, but I don't know which place I want to eat. So it then become like all of my friends are like, well, what about this place? And I'm like, no, I don't really want that. And they're like, well, what about over here? And I'm like, it doesn't sound, And so they're just like, so help me God. You will pick a restaurant. And I'm like, you just have to be like, we are going here at this time. And I will be like, fine. Like, I will, that's good. You know, but
I'm go with the flow with some stuff, but then some stuff I just have no chill. Like, I would say, I'm trying to give an example. Like, when we're in our friend group here, like, I'm very go with the flow. If something goes wrong, I'm like, that's fine. The only time I was panicked is when we almost couldn't get into our apartment in London, and I was freezing, and I thought we were going to be sleeping on the street.
But it was also, like, 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. So, I mean, other than that, like, I'm very chill, but then there's other parts where I'm just like, this is how we have to do it exactly my way.
So, back to notes. We still have, like, we're at an hour and a half, and we're, like, halfway through this film, man.
So it was the divorce that we left off at.
Yeah. Well, no, the high maintenance, but thinking low maintenance. And I think, like, so what I have on my notes next is the scene where they're doing, like, the weird voices.
Oh, the paprika.
Yeah. I love that so much. Like, to me, like, it's, like, weird shit like that tells me if I can be compatible with someone.
Yes.
Like, I sing everything when I'm alone. Like, I do weird voices. And, like, I just need someone who will be, like, who will do it with me. Like, you know what I mean? And I just love it that they can do that. And, like, you can tell that Sally's, like, uncomfortable and embarrassed, but, like, she still does it because, like, she thinks it's funny.
It also ties into the karaoke thing, too. Like, he was just singing.
Oh, yeah. I love that scene.
And then she's kind of nervous about it, but she still does it.
Oh, yeah. And then, like, I literally wrote down the fucking karaoke machine.
Yeah.
Yes. I love that so much. I also love that it's the sharper image.
Yeah.
Does that store still exist?
I don't think so.
I know. I was like, I don't think that... I mean, malls don't really... Yeah. I mean, some malls do, I guess.
So, I mean, I guess it ties into them, like, she never makes fun of him for his quirks, like his singing or his, like, weird voices and his, like, weird tendencies, and he never makes fun of her.
Yeah.
And they kind of go with the flow with each of them.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess that would tie in.
Well, because I think, too, I think a lot of it is, like... That's what makes people real.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about this movie is that these characters feel so real.
Yeah.
They have these weird quirks that are, like, negative, but they also have these quirks that are, like, awesome.
Yeah.
You know? And so it's, like, I guess that statement is very subjective.
Yeah. Depending.
Yeah. And so I enjoy that about them that in their relationship that they feel comfortable truly 100% being themselves with each other. And I think it's really obvious and it really shows. Yeah, and oh my God, so I'm just looking at my notes here and like I have like worst date stories written down because she talks about the guy that pulls a hair out of her head
always
and
think of that date
flosses with
story.
it. What? Like,
I have always wondered about that. I've never actually had like a weird date story, which is weird. I mean,
I think like honestly, granted, I don't date often, but I think the weirdest or like worst quote unquote date story is just I went out with this guy who was obnoxiously loud. Like, and it was just like, we were in a kind of quiet restaurant. It was like a pub. Yeah. So, well, like an American pub and like a brewery. We were at a brewery and like, so there were people around, but it was still kind of quiet. Yeah. And just like right off the bat, like
too loud.
Yeah. Like, no, you haven't seen Parks and Rec.
No.
Oh my God. Never mind. Can't use that reference. But like, it's just, he literally, it's like he didn't
have volume control.
Or like, yeah, he just had no idea how loud he was talking. And it was just like, okay. I'm a very quiet, soft-spoken person though, too. So I'm just like, we need to be quiet now. Please stop.
I'm trying to think of mine. I would say mine would be, I was dating this guy in high school and we all went, like the four of us in a group. And it was like closer to the anniversary of like our dating, and we went and got Slurpees, which I would kill for a Coke Slurpee right now. But we got Slurpees, and I was filling up gas in my car, and he had bought Slurpees for his buddy, but he did not buy me one. And I was so mad. I was like, so you offered them Slurpees while I was filling up my gas tank, and you didn't get me a Slurpee, because he had offered my friend one, and then he had offered the other guy friend one, and he said yes, so he bought his, and I'm like, I would have wanted a Slurpee. So like, this is peak me, like in high school, and he like smugly like drank it in front of me, so I literally took it and I slammed it out of his hand, and it dropped, and I'm like, bummer.
Oh my God.
Peak me.
No, I mean, like, I would be upset in that situation because I'm like, that just shows like not being considerate.
Yeah. Towards me. And I was mad.
But I would never.
No, it wasn't the fact that he didn't get me one. It was the fact that like when I had brought it up to him, I'm like, oh, you didn't get me one? And I was like, and he goes, well, you can go get it. And I remember him saying, I was like, well, I don't have cash. And he was like, well, that sucks. And I remember him doing that. And he like took the straw and was like, and just like that sound like drove me nuts, and I just went boop, and I like popped it out of his hand and it dropped, and I'm just like, oh no. Like I got in the car. Like that's peak me in high school. No filter. I've gotten better.
Oh my goodness. Anyway, we cannot not talk about
the orgasm scene.
Yes.
Did you know, fun fact, that the woman who said, I'll have what she's having, that's the mother of the director, Rob Reiner.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I did not know that. I know that. So one of the reasons why I love this scene is because it shows the immense growth that Sally has made over the course of these 10 years.
Okay.
She, in the first diner scene, is so innocent and so, like, you know, prim and proper, like, you know, and now she's just like, fuck this. I'm going to prove you wrong. I'm going to show you.
Which also shows the dynamic of the relationship, too, because he was ahead of her, and then now she's ahead of him.
And now she's just schooling him in the best way possible in public, and his face during it is just everything to me.
And the way she just starts eating. Because he's
so fucking confident. That's what I love. It's like he's so like, no, I know. A woman's never faked it with me. Like, I would know. Like, you know, and it's like, well, let me prove you wrong. And he's just like, okay.
My favorite is her, like, smug after she's finished, and her, like, smug just starts eating, and she's, like, smiling, like, yep.
It's that easy.
That scene is amazing.
Oh my God, I love it.
I would have loved to have been alive when it aired in theaters to watch, like, an entire theater watch that scene back in the 80s, because I feel like that would be great.
Yes.
It's like I wish I was around for, like, Jaws or, like, The Exorcist for that only reason, just to, like, get the audience reaction.
Yeah.
And it also shows the immense difference between men and women. because men are so confident in some things, and we're just like, we've made you believe this, and so it's partially our fault too.
I know, especially these days. Hold on. Yeah.
Before Carrie Fisher and the other guy got together, Sally was like working out or something. There was like this montage of them doing stuff, and I remember it coming up like, what is the best way to get over a breakup? And that's such a hard question to me. Because I guess it depends.
I don't remember that.
Somewhere. It was because I wrote the faking an orgasm scene, and then what is the best way to get over a breakup, and then divorce, who gets what.
My notes are literally faking orgasms. No, bring his beard back. She talks about, like, being able to, like, when he shaves.
Yeah, the beard is the best.
And I should say, 2 notes before faking orgasm is literally... Wait, no, that's the wrong note. There's one where I'm like, Billy Crystal with a beard is everything.
Yes. She was this depression beard. And then the other one I had was when Harry has that meltdown when they're picking the wagon wheel table about the divorce.
I love that. I think that's such, like, to me, that's when that right there told me that they were, like, meant for each other. Because I think it shows, like I said, I blow up sometimes. Like, I am, like, you know, boiling water bubbling over, and sometimes I just have to vent. And, you know, to me, like, I would hope that the other person is willing to call me out of my bullshit. Like, and so I want to hear, like, what is annoying about me, or like those kinds of things, because like I honestly want to fix myself. Like I want to be a better person. And so
that's not me.
And so like I just love it. I just love it that they're like literally calling each other out, and they're being so open and honest.
And then they can come back together.
And then right away he's just like, are we done? Like, and then he's like, okay, I'm so sorry. Yeah. And like, to me, that is so healthy.
Yeah.
Maybe not. I don't know. But like, I just feel like...
not for me. Don't call me out of my bullshit. Just accept it and we'll be fine.
No, like, I want to know when I'm... Especially like when someone like means that much to me. Like and like you know, if we're in a steady relationship and I'm pissing you off, I want you to tell me.
For me, yes, but it has to be in a nice communicative way. Like, if you were to come up to me and say, you're fucking annoying me today, I will have a serious meltdown in front of you. I will be like...
I'd be like, well, fuck you too. Like, tell me.
What? And then I'd be like, because I'm one of those people who loves to have, like, it pisses my family off, because my mom's the Aquarius and she's very emotionally aloof. And I'm that person who will sit there and talk to you about your feelings for 4 hours on the couch. And I'm like, this is me.
I know.
And then my mom was like, can we wrap this up? And I'm just like, but no, there's one more point. And then my sister's just like, like, I'm one of those people who, if you want me to change, I need you to do it like in a, like,
well, but I'm not
nice way.
Like, to me, like,
critique is very hard for me.
But they're not trying to change each other.
No, they're just venting.
To me, it's more, it's that, and that's what I mean by calling me on my bullshit. If I'm sitting there complaining and not doing anything about it, don't just let me do that. Be like, listen, shut up. I love you, but shut up and do something about it. And I'll probably be like emotional and, you know, be like, I don't want to, or whatever. But then it should spark a conversation. And then it should open me up. And then I should be able to be like, well, this is why I'm not doing anything about it. It's driven from fear, or it's driven from whatever. And then we can have a conversation. But if I don't, you know, I don't want to keep doing something that is getting under your skin that you feel like you can't talk to me about. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so I would much rather, but also like I'm a very open, honest, blunt person.
I know. And you're coming at me and I'm just like, okay, this is great. Okay.
It comes, but for me, like,
it comes from always, a place of love. I know.
It always comes from a place of love. Like, trust me, like, I would not give you the time of day if I did not care about you. Yeah. And that's just how I am. And so to me, like, I just love this conversation that they have so much, because I think, like, you know, and I love it too because it also shows, again, it shows that character growth. Sally starts out as just kind of this spineless, like, woman who feels like she has to shape herself around society's expectations. And through her experiences, at this point, she's now able to, like, yeah, she doesn't, you know, she's not the kind of person that could go out and sleep with all of New York. That's what she accuses Harry of doing. And, you know, so she still sticks to her personal beliefs. Yeah. But she's now able to communicate and to talk about it freely without fear of
the judgment.
Yes.
Which also goes into play that Harry has become less judgmental of her choices too. Yeah. And he accepts because remember he was talking how she doesn't have great sex, and then she's like, well, I don't need to sleep with everyone like you do. Yeah. So it just also shows their growth with each other.
Yes, exactly. Anyway.
And I just love how, like, because Harry exploded, Sally's never been, like, when he's like, you don't have a dark side at the beginning of the movie. And she's like, I'm a generally happy person, which she is. Yeah. And she never, like, gets super angry, which I think is me. Like, I'm very even-keeled with things. So, like, if someone's having a meltdown, I can be the person to sit there and be like, okay, they're having a meltdown. They need a minute. And I will be there when they collect themselves.
Well, and I think that shows in her... So then the next kind of note that I have is the scene where she's crying over Joe because he calls her up and is, you know, because the whole thing is they keep talking, why her and Joe didn't work out is that they kept thinking that children meant that relationships could no longer be sexual. Yeah. Like, kids ruin sex. Mm-hmm. And you know, they wanted
such a lie. You have to get more creative.
Exactly. And so I think, you know, it's the time that she's finally realizing that it's not that he was against marriage. He just didn't want to marry me.
Yeah. Which is a tough pill, to be honest. When you build this up in your mind that he just wasn't the marrying kind. It's also kind of like, I know you haven't seen Sex and the City, but like when Carrie kept trying to get big to commit the entire season, and then the moment he met this like 24-year-old, he married her and committed. It's just like, that to me is hard. Like, it's not that he wasn't the right person for it. It's just you weren't the right person for him, which I think is harder to me.
I think...
Because I'm just like... Because you thought he was the right one.
Yes, exactly. And so it is... I think it is emotionally... It's difficult to process.
Especially because you were so sure about them.
But I think at the same time, to me, she... wanted it. She figured out that she wanted kids. Yeah. And so when you have that conversation and the person that you're with is so against what you want, that right there tells me that you're not compatible. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so, like, to me, it's like, if he decided to do it later on, it wouldn't matter to me, because that's not... To me, it's like, it would be clear that, like, we're not compatible. Because if you did want that, you would sacrifice whatever thing. Yes. Because you want to be with me and you understand that it's what I want. Yeah. And so, like, if you're willing to compromise, that shows the ability to, like, continue adapt on in this. Other. Yeah. And so the fact that he was just outright like, that's not what I want, shows me that he's not willing to compromise, isn't willing to put in work or sacrifice some things that he... you know, wants or whatever.
And it's also I'm a big believer in when there's this, not to get too philosophical, but there's a Maya Angelou quote that I always live by is like, when people show you who they are, believe them. Yeah. So like this idea that if, especially like for all the ladies out there, if a guy tells you that like, he's not this type or he's not this or this, believe him, because he's not going to lie to you. Like, I'm going to tell you, if I'm not ready for a relationship, I'm not ready. Yeah. And, like, if I don't want kids, I'm never going to want kids. So, like, I am a big believer in, especially, like, especially early on in dating, you fantasize people. If they say to you, I don't want to ever get married, he's never going to want to get married. So it's just like, and I'm a big believer in women, especially deciding, because we have a tendency to mold ourselves to like, 100%. What men want. Yeah. So like, figure out what you want really early on in life and then stick to that, because then it weeds the crappy guys out really fast. Yeah. So like, if you want kids and you know for sure you want kids, never date a guy that doesn't want kids, because then you just love him. And then you try to force him into something he doesn't want. Exactly. And vice versa. Yeah. Which is weird because they never mentioned Harry wanting kids in the movie. So that's a very interesting... Because she wanted kids. I remember very distinctly her telling the story about how she was in the cab with his friend and she started crying.
Yeah.
That's peak me, too. Like, all of a sudden I want what I want and then I start crying about it.
Yeah.
But it's like that kind of thing. Like, don't wait till you're like 32 to decide what you want. And then we'll have to get to the part where they sleep together because I have notes about that part.
That's this scene.
It's interesting because, like...
I think it's so stupid.
The whole scene?
I think the decision to have sex...
When you're crying?
It's the worst. Heartbroken over an ex.
That's me.
Because this is her first time, like, emotionally expressing her frustration with this relationship. She has yet to process this, really.
Yes.
She's been very even-keeled, like, we didn't want the same things, we're moving on. Mm-hmm. Like, and she's talked about it, but she hasn't had a visceral emotional reaction, which I think is part of the healing process. Like, you need to feel emotional. Yeah. Like, you can't just keep burying it deep down inside.
You have to express it.
And, you know, you might not cry over it. That's fine. Like, not everybody cries, but, like, you should have to have some kind of healthy emotion. Yeah. Whether it be anger, sadness, all of the above, whatever. And so this is her first time having that emotional reaction. Yeah. And she's going to gravitate towards the first person that's near her. She wants to be close to someone. Like, and I get that. Like, you know, I'm very much, when I'm sad and upset, like, I want someone to hold me and, like, to hug me, whatever. Pet me. And I think that they've had this kind of buildup of sexual tension, you know, like, they feel close to each other, whatever. But I think making that move, like, I would have trusted Harry to pump the brakes. To be like, this is not okay. Like, you are not in the right mindset. Like,
and it also leads to their argument at the wedding where he's like, I took pity on you.
Exactly. Oh my God. And
it also shows, like, and it also really, I think the scene after they have sex and they're laying in bed really...
His face.
Yeah, he's just like...
He immediately regrets it, and she is perfectly fine. Yeah. Like, I don't... I think
it also shows the difference between the men and the women after they have sex. Like, we bond really quickly afterwards. Like, she was smiling and she was happy getting water. And like,
but I don't think it was sex that did that. I think it was finally her getting out of this relationship what she really wanted to get, and him realizing, oh shit... this has gone a step further than maybe I really think I wanted it to. Yeah. And so they're processing this event. Yeah. And when he gets up to leave, that's when Sally's like, this was a mistake. Yeah. Because he wasn't ready for it when I was. Yeah. And so I think that that's what sparks her decision to be like, this was a mistake. But I don't think when she says that, she wants him to be like, no, it wasn't.
Yeah. And she's looking for that contradiction.
Exactly. And so when he says, definitely, it was a mistake. And she's like, oh, like.
Yeah, shit.
Yeah. And so that's, yeah. And I think for him, he still needs time to, like, process his feelings and emotions or whatever. But yeah, like, it's just the dumbest... the dumbest decision I think that they've made because, again, he did it out of pity. And he tells her that. Yeah. Which also...
is horrible to
dumbass.
Oh, I would have hit him too.
Oh my God, I know that. Literally all caps. Oh shit, that slap. Yeah. Like, and then I wrote, totally warned.
Yes, I would have hit him too.
Like, but her dress I could never physically too, harm
that dress is great. That's one of my favorite dresses.
Peak 80s fashion.
I could hit somebody. I have no problem.
Oh, heck no. No way.
I could.
No.
It's my self-defense. I
would throw a plate. I would maybe throw a drink in their face.
I would never close fist it, but I would definitely
I would not
hand it.
No. There's no way. I would probably, like, that, I would just, like,
it would be just such a visceral reaction.
Stare, and I would just walk out. Like, I'm done. Like,
oh no, I would have a visceral reaction. Especially if a guy said he took pity on me and we'd been friends for like 20 years. I would hit him probably.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and it's just like, and also the one issue that I have with this movie, the only issue is like, after they have that argument, and it's such peak men behavior too, and it's one of the things that I hate about the other sex is... the moment that she gets angry and pulls away is the more that he wants her. Yeah. And that is so annoying to me, especially because, guys, that's like peak
You should know what you want without having to lose it first.
Yes, and it's like...
And that's what's frustrating.
And it's also because, like, Sally was... I mean, she was still sad about it, but she was moving on with her life. She could do her independent Christmas tree. And maybe it's because it's, like, peak feminism and we're modern women. This is 80s women. But, like... She was moving on with her life, and she was moving, and then Harry keeps, like, interjecting in her life.
Yeah, and the constant phone calls and voice messages.
Yes, and then when she finally picks up, and she's like, okay, I'm done. Like, stop calling me. And he's like, okay. And then he runs over. It's just, like, that romantic comedy trope is, like, one of the ones that gets under my skin.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, it takes losing something to understand what you really want, and I don't like that idea.
Yeah. Like, again, I think you should know. Yeah. Be honest with yourself. Like, really reflect on...
But it's men we're talking about here. Sorry to the male listeners.
I mean, yeah. And I also hate it that it's New Year's.
Oh, but I love New Year's. That's my favorite part. No. But you're also very emotional during New Year's, too.
That's what I mean. Is to me...
It doesn't feel as genuine.
It's this idea of, like, they... have been friends for so long. It's the holiday season.
Yeah. You're alone. Yeah.
On New Year's.
Yeah.
And you're eating your mallow bars or whatever.
That's me, though.
And, like, yeah, I just am like, you should have known.
Yeah.
And... yeah.
And at least I've been honest with her and told her, you know, and like just the constant phone calls is like, it's almost like, I know I used this term like last week, but it's like the breadcrumbing. Like, it's like you want to keep you at the front of their mind without actually doing anything about it. So it's kind of like you want them still in your life, but you're not going to move the next step until he literally physically runs across New York to her. So it's just like, yeah, it feels very, like, I don't like that trope where it's like you have to lose them to get them. And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
No.
You should know what you want.
Because it makes me mad when I'm moving on with my life and moving past somebody and then they text you at 10 o'clock at night like, you up? Like, it's just ugh, like, leave me alone. Like, I'm moving on.
Yeah. Well, that's a whole nother issue.
Yeah. And it's just like this idea of it, I just wasn't, I don't know.
Yeah. So one of my last questions that I've written down now that we're over the 2-hour mark is, would you have forgiven him after his speech on New Year's? He runs to you, you're about to leave, you're not having a good time, and then all of a sudden the guy that you potentially want to see shows up, professes his love for you. What do you do?
I would probably...
You're Sally, what do you do?
I probably would, but I would have to see, like, the big change. Like, I'm not someone who likes words. Like, words are great, and I love to hear them, because one of my love languages is, like, the words of confirmation, or affirmation or whatever, but I would have to see it change. Like, I would have to see him put forth the equal amount of effort.
Okay.
Like, I would probably still have kissed him because he ran all the way and it's New Year's and the ball dropped, that it's just like, you have to almost. But
no, you don't.
I would. I love New Year's. Like, that just piqued, like, my romantic fantasy to have someone, like, run across at New Year's. Have you ever seen A Lot Like Love?
Yes.
And they're at New Year's and she's watching her ex kiss and he, like, sweeps in. Like, that is my peak idea of New Year's, but... I would have to see, like, how he reacted after New Year's.
Yeah, no. I think for me...
It doesn't happen, so it's, like, hard to decide.
It's happened to me.
Has it?
Yeah. And I just, like... I mean, obviously, I have to... very different scenario. Yeah. But, to me, like... I think what I would do is... If that's, like... If they were, you know... professing his love for me, whatever. That's all great, but you best believe that we will now be spending the entire night talking.
Yes.
And it would be like just kind of figuring out this.
What?
Yeah, because to me...
I would have to define it. That would be like the defining night of what this is going to be.
Well, yeah, and I mean, yeah. But... just to me, like, I just want to know what all of a sudden has changed in your mind. Like, why do you all of a sudden feel this way? And, you know, you can, like you said, you can say all these great things and...
I have to see the effort.
Sweep me off my feet. But it's not even like I have to see the effort. I have to understand what made you panic at first, too.
Like, why?
Yeah, like, I want to talk about the situation, like, you know, and so for me, it's communication.
Yeah. I'm big on communication.
Same.
I'm like, constant talk. And also, I remember at the end, 4 months later, they got engaged or married. Yeah. I'm like, that is not enough time for me after he did that, like, 180. I would be like, why are we getting married so soon? Like,
yeah.
I would need at least a year or more than 6 months.
Well, I think, to me, it totally is dependent upon the situation and how I'm actually feeling and what I feel towards this person. So I can't give it a specific timeline, but it makes sense to me that they got married that soon because they had known each other for over 10 years at that point. Like, they knew what they wanted. Yeah. You know, so it does make sense.
The idea that we never heard about Harry and his idea for kids, though, was weird to me because it was such a big storyline for Sally.
Didn't we, though?
I don't think so.
I swear he said something.
I don't know. With Helen, but I think it was in passing.
I don't know.
Not as big of a storyline as
But
Sally's,
also, I don't...
To me.
Yeah. But I think it was more... That part was more about Jo than it was about Harry. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was to tell her that Jo was not the right person, but, you know, I think I think it's kind of just assumed.
Yeah, that he wants kids.
Yeah. Or, like, that he'd be fine with it. Yeah. But, anyway, yeah. And then we end on their lovely discussion about that cake.
Yeah.
The coconut cake with chocolate sauce on the fucking side.
So it doesn't get all soppy, which is, like, peak me, too. Because I like my food the way that I like it. And I always feel like such a bitch when I'm like... No, I want this how it is. Like, cook it at this temperature at this amount of time. And my mom's like, Haley.
Chill out. Well, do you have any last closing thoughts on When Harry Met Sally? I know. I mean, I do love this movie. I think
it's one of my favorites.
Yeah, I think it is just peak rom-com. Yeah. You can't go wrong with it. Obviously, yeah, there's problems with it. There's problems with every rom-com.
But I would say out of all of the rom-coms that I know, this was like one of the top 10 least problematic to me.
Yeah.
I would say there's some that are problematic.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's a lot that are problematic, but no, I do. And I think, what I love about this one as well is that I feel like it holds up to time. Yeah. Like, I still feel like there is technological aspects that are different for us these days and, like, different approaches to
relationships.
Relationships and, like, the independence and or freedom that women feel. But, yeah, I think I love it. It's a great one.
It's one of my top 5.
Yeah. You can't go wrong. With When Harry Met Sally. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys for listening if you lasted this long.
Yeah. Thanks.
And then if you want to follow us on Twitter, I set up a Twitter account. And
what's the handle?
It's at Big Fat Romcom Pod. Okay. There we go. Yeah, it's Big Fat Romcom Pod on Twitter. Yeah, tweet at us. Let us know how you feel about the episode. Do you agree?
Disagree? What are the new ideas that you can think of that we probably didn't cover?
Yeah. Can you feel with us in our relationship experiences? I don't know. Issues? Yeah. Experiences and issues. Anyway. So follow us on Twitter. If you liked this episode, please give us some good ratings and reviews. But other than that, thanks for checking us out and hope we see you next time on our next episode. Yeah. All right.
See ya.
Bye, everybody.